question is not really about non-duality. I was curious, what do you think about losing my words, the exit from from Europe, Britain's exit from Europe, Brexit. I personally don't care anymore. I was really saddened when it first happened. I don't care anymore about the political stance. Personally, it affects my life a lot, but I don't care about the political stance anymore. I thought it was really sad. My generation and people younger than me were all born being part of the EU, and then suddenly it was said that's no longer. So it's like, imagine America, the United States, suddenly like California decides to be independent, and then it's cut off from America, and if you want to go to other parts of America, you have to have a visa to go to other parts of America. And maybe some of your family is living in Washington, but you're now like segregated by visas. So I thought that was really sad. I just thought it was really sad that it happened. And then after all the problems that there's been over it, I just kind of, and I think a lot of people are just tired of it. It's not really fair of a country to do that to all the companies and the businesses. Like for two years not know what the trade deals are going to be, and it being up and down like that, that's really hardcore. Maybe some businesses are profiting of it, but I can imagine a lot of the small independent businesses are under a lot of strain from it. But I lost the care of that part of it. What I do personally care about is that my mother is going to be in the UK and I'm going to be a citizen or a resident of another country, and that my max amount of time in the UK will most probably be 3 months a year. So if my mother ever gets ill, I could only spend 3 months of the year with her, which that now is the only thing I care about. The other parts of it, I'm like, politics. It's really, you just got to be grateful you're not from Syria. Imagine the injustices are there when so lucky that my citizenship is from the United Kingdom and not some of the other countries. You know, like some countries in Africa or some countries in the Middle East, of what their governments do to the citizens and the businesses there. So on that side, but on a personal side, I feel really sad about my mother thing. It could be that it doesn't happen, and it could be that we carry on the same, but if that visa thing does apply, that is really sad, that as my mother goes into older age. But that's life. And I'm sure something else will flower from that, like it always does. There's a good chance that it won't happen. And I think it's very typical of the politics that this is what's going to happen. It's going to happen in a lot more countries, that they're going to want to become more segregated, because it's change. It's hard for people to change as rapidly as they've been changing in the last 100 years. And all this change stresses them, so it makes them want to go back to their old ways. But at the same time, I'm so grateful that I was born in the United Kingdom and that I'm a European citizen. I'm so grateful. We are so privileged and lucky in Europe. It really, something like this, which is a tiny, tiny little blip compared to other continents, it makes you, it just you begin to remember or of what it must be like to be in less, I don't even know how to say it, less democratic societies. I don't even know if we're in a democratic society. I don't know, it's all very complicated, but I still really appreciate all the freedoms I get from being European. I feel like as a white woman, this is a very, very privileged time to be alive. So lucky, all the things that I get to experience and do, that just in the last generation, just in my mum's generation, wasn't possible. Yeah, I think it's amazing. And we often forget that as Europeans, just how privileged we are. We really forget it. We like to bash politics, but we really are living in the most privileged time ever to be alive. I'm not just pondering this. There's no more questions. If somebody has another question, everyone's stunned into silence. We live in privilege. But what should I do? What should I do with all this privilege? We're not privileged. Our government is terrible. I like the idea of European countries united together. Yeah, me too. I think it's a younger generation thing. I think if the younger generation had taken the vote seriously, it wouldn't have happened, but they didn't. They never thought that would happen. So I was a bit worried about the UK leaving the EU, weakening it somehow, the EU and maybe the UK too, but I believe it will all be fine in the end. Anyway, thanks for sharing your thoughts. Yeah, and they're making such an example of the UK, the EU, that the other European countries are not going to attempt to do it. I can still get the sense that it won't happen. Like that we're going to have the UK is going to have another referendum, and if it does, it won't happen. The young people, every young person will come out and vote against it. It's the older generations that voted for it. Yeah, I think it was really heartbreaking for a lot of people. Like, because when you're born into the EU, it's like your country. Like you are all those countries, and it's really beautiful feeling. I would love it if we were like that with the whole world. Imagine if we had this no borders and open borders with the whole world. That would just be so beautiful, and that everyone has the same privilege and healthcare. Like in Europe, I know a lot of people, like in America and other countries don't understand this, but in Europe we have a health card where we can go anywhere in Europe and we present our health card and we get the cover of our health in all those countries. It's really beautiful. There's something so nice about it. Like sometimes I think if we had like an alien invasion, like we would unite together as humans, and it would be that beautiful feeling that you get when your continent is connected. Your continent is connected. yeah, such a beautiful and noble idea to have an undivided or world. Always wonder why Norway twice voted against EU membership. Seems so regressive for a liberal country. Because they're rich. They're rich. They don't want to pay the taxes on that, most probably. But they still have a lot of the EU laws. But I'm not exactly sure about what they are. I just know it from the exit thing. The English news, it's like all over the English news. It's so funny because after now 2 years, the English people can't even bear talking about it amongst themselves. So, yeah.